Anyway.
Good morning. Welcome back to the show. 10:34 is the time. This is Talk. We are the home of common sense. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Claire Pistol is also with us, former Conservative Government Advisor. You're certainly on the phones, 0344 499 1000. That's the number to have yours say. Love to hear your thoughts about what my next guest has to say. He's joined us in the studio, journalist and broadcaster Adam Boulton. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
You've been, watched you for years and years, known you in the lobby in the House of Commons when you were working as Sky political editor, doyen, some would say, of the lobby. You've been, I suppose, I would say, quite supportive of Lord Peter Mandelson. You've considered him to be a friend. He came to your wedding.
Yeah, I went to his.
You went to his. You're in a friendship. Do you still consider him a friend?
Yeah, I don't believe in cancelling people, and I think you stick by people. And I can think of, people who've got into trouble. People working in this building, like Andy Coulson, for example, or politicians like Jeffrey Archer, or someone I worked for once, Jonathan Aitken. Okay. I think you can absolutely condemn and perhaps be shocked by what they're appalled and shocked by what they've done. But at a personal level, if you've known someone as I've known Peter Mandelson for over 40 years, I'm not going to, metaphorically
oust him from your friendship.
Yeah.
Okay. He hasn't been charged with any crime. He hasn't certainly been convicted of any crime, and we need to remember that. But I have to say, the black and white evidence from the Epstein files so far, which either Peter Mandelson has not commented or he says he has no recollection, $75,000 going into his account from Jeffrey Epstein, $10,000 to his partner, husband.
I think that's acknowledged.
Okay. I said either has no recollection or okay, he's acknowledged this, but he acknowledged the 10,000. Doesn't have a recollection of the 75,000. The exchanges of emails, it would appear to be from his own private account, which was basically handing over sensitive, confidential, market-sensitive information about what was happening in terms of bailouts of banks during the economic crisis to Jeffrey Epstein, a billionaire financier who at that time, by the way, was already a convicted paedophile, been convicted and served time in prison for having solicited a 14-year-old girl for prostitution. Are you still saying do you think this is a man of good character?
No, and I never said that, and I entirely agree with what you said. If it turns out that all this is true, and we have to bear in mind that certainly in things like bank statements, Jeffrey Epstein was not above faking them or whatever.
No.
And, we've had fakes done of bank statements before. Remember the Martin Bashir case, so it can happen. But if on the face of it, what is revealed in the Ministry of Justice Epstein library is true, it is absolutely appalling, absolutely shocking, absolutely gobsmacking, and I don't know anyone who's thought anything otherwise. I think there are two sections to this. David Blunkett, who of course was a close ally in New Labour, has made this point that the sleaze stuff about what Epstein did and Peter Mandelson's involvement with him, and whether it's a good idea to have sleazy friends, and I don't think it is personally, is one thing. But the actual evidence that while a cabinet minister, Peter Mandelson was sending on confidential information to Jeffrey Epstein who could benefit from it is gobsmacking, shocking, and nothing anybody
would be criminal if it has
potentially, if it can be
misconduct in public office.
If that can be proven, it would be criminal. And
breach of the Official Secret Act at the very basics.
I'm not so sure about that, because I think, and I've had this pointed out to me by senior civil servants.
These weren't top secure.
These were not
documents.
Classified documents,
okay.
And they were basically conversations. But I would make one point about this: that everyone is shocked by what's been revealed. But everyone has been taken in. As Danny Finkelstein points out in his column in The Times today, Peter Mandelson was employed in this building on a podcast. People are now blaming Keir Starmer for taking a risk. Gordon Brown, one of the men who's stirring the pot, was the person who brought Peter Mandelson back into
and gave him the peerage. Okay, but again,
this is a collective thing.
Oh, absolutely, it's a collective thing. But here's the thing: you say everyone's shocked. I'm not shocked. We always knew Peter Mandelson was a wrong one. We knew from early days when he had a 40 grand salary as an MP and bought a £475,000 Notting Hill mansion. I knew from early days that he had lied to the then editor of the Evening Standard, Max Hastings, and claimed it was an inheritance from his mother. Completely, he lied on his mortgage document. He lied to the Prime Minister.
Boris Johnson lied, and I've never defended that. He became Prime Minister. I mean,
I've never done. No. There's a difference, Adam Boulton. There's a difference, and I know you've also been talking about. Well, Donald Trump is implicated in various things. Here's the thing.
If you believe these documents, Donald Trump's done much worse than Peter Mandelson.
People choose to vote for is a matter for them. When a Prime Minister chooses, whether it's Gordon Brown, whether it's Keir Starmer, chooses to appoint someone to a role where they're in the public employ, where the public don't get to say, then it is absolutely a matter of their judgment. Do you think? I mean, you're saying there's a question mark for Gordon Brown, bringing him back for the tail end of his government.
He was like the Prime Minister today, Sir Keir Starmer. He was desperate at the time, and he thought that Peter Mandelson could bring some magic into his government, just as Keir Starmer thought, and I think correctly as far as doing his job, and I'm one of those journalists, the many journalists who said it, that although it was a high-risk appointment bringing back Peter Mandelson, he would do a good job sucking up to Trump and getting a trade deal. And all the evidence is that in his 6 months he did that.
And I said quite the opposite, that it wasn't worth the risk and that he was damaged goods.
Yeah, but that's what a risk is. You know, it might pay off, it might not pay off.
And it was it's worked out really well, hasn't it?
Exactly, it's exploded all over everybody.
But it was always going to explode all over everybody. And the question right now is, and again, we've got this, we've had this humble address to the Commons and the Tories trying to get all this information, is what exactly did both the Prime Minister and indeed his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, know about the close links between Mandelson and Epstein at the time? What vetting was done? We know from Yvette Cooper, since she stated in the comments, that the full vetting was not carried out before he was appointed. It does appear that Peter Mandelson kind of leaked that he'd been appointed to the job before he'd actually been formally vetted.
You are being, if I may say so, wise after the event. Right?
I'm sorry, I was criticising this the day one.
No, wait a minute. You said it was always clear this was going to explode. This has only exploded because of the parallel issues over the Epstein files in the United States and the big dumps
I raised it over his relationship with the Chinese.
Yeah, all right. Peter Mandelson did not know that there was going to be these dumps of information, and he didn't know what was in it. Now, I don't think that justifies him putting himself forward for this job. He should not have done it.
He didn't know his wrongdoing would come out, so it was OK for him to apply for a job to be our top diplomat.
Politics is strewn with people like that. Absolutely strewn with people like that.
And that's OK?
No, it's bad. It's just that, you know, it's the human condition.
You just said it's not a good idea to have sleazy friends, but you're quite happy to have a sleazy friend.
No, I'm not quite happy.
It was OK as long as no one knew about it, and now we know about it.
No, I'm telling you how the world is.
What we knew when he was appointed.
Peter Mandelson betrayed his friends, his political allies, and everybody when he put himself forward for that ambassador's job. He knew what had gone on. He should not have done it.
What was already in the public domain and what must have already been known by our security services, by the police, the basic level of vetting for that job would have revealed that he was totally unsuitable for that job, and that the previous resignations were of a different league over what he was possibly alleged to have been, to have witnessed and to have covered up. Now, he can play the gay card and say, I'm gay, I didn't know anything.
No, hang on.
No one believes that.
That's all very well, but you're wrong, because, as you say, it was known that Peter Mandelson had this friendship. It was known about his past and his previous residence, and he was brought back by numerous people in numerous roles over that time. So this is not a kind of unique failure by government. Yes, you can argue that there should be tighter intrusion and tighter type of vetting. I mean, I personally...
There wasn't proper vetting, we know that.
No, I personally am appalled, just very simply. I'm very appalled that on their official BlackBerry, or I suppose now people have phones, that a minister can be sent stuff and can then just simply flip it on to someone else. I just don't think that should happen. And certainly I don't think they should be able to do that without someone scrutinising.
You say that, can I come back to you?
What's on
you're saying that other prime ministers had appointed him. Look, you know, Tony Blair appointed him twice, didn't he? He appointed him you trade commissioner. He'd appointed him after he'd been, you know,
Neil Kinnock hired him as the head of
He's been hired by every Labour prime minister in the last 40 years. But here's the thing. When Keir Starmer appointed him in 2024, that was after the full extent of the horrors of what Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and others had done. But he was exposed, and he was already long dead. 2019. This was all. We knew everything. We knew an awful lot. Then
lots of people.
His close relationship was well known at that point.
There are lots of people throughout public life, certainly in the United States, who had close associations with Jeffrey Epstein, who continue to
that's up to them.
Be straightforward.
That's up to them.
And what's more, they are mostly people, including Donald Trump, who are in suspicion.
That's up to them. And the American public can vote for him or not vote for him. That's got sod all to do with me.
No, I'm just saying to you that it was not considered, having been a acquaintance of Jeffrey Epstein.
He wasn't an acquaintance, it was his best pal.
No, well, we didn't know that at the time.
There were photographs
those
of
documents
them
were
shopping together. They were not vague acquaintances. We know Peter Mandelson lied. We also know the vetting was not carried out beforehand. Was it a misjudgment on Keir Starmer's part, and does it betray poor leadership?
It was a gamble.
I didn't ask that. Was it a misjudgment to appoint him as the representative of the British state in America?
With hindsight, but at the time,
was it a misjudgment?
At the time, it was a risk, it was a gamble.
I didn't ask you that.
I didn't
ask you that. Was it a misjudgment?
It's exactly the same as hiring someone like Cummings, who had a long record. He was hired. He also exploded on the Prime Minister of the time.
He didn't have a record of being busy mates with a paedophile.
No, he had a record of breaking COVID restrictions that he was putting on the nation. Yes, it was a mistake. Should he have been trusted?
I didn't ask you that.
It was a gamble.
No,
it was a risk.
A misjudgment.
At the time.
Why are you answering a different question?
Well, because you're asking the wrong question.
I'm sorry. With all due respect, Adam, I know you've done this for years as well. I choose my questions.
You're saying, was it a misjudgment?
You can answer yes or no.
I am saying...
Yes or no.
No, it's not a yes or no question.
It's not a reasonable question.
It was a risk. And at the time that Peter was appointed, some of the people who knew Peter said, this is a brilliant appointment. Other people, close to Keir Starmer, actually said, this is a mistake.
Many in public life, many journalists, many commentators, including me, said at the time, this was a mistake and he was the wrong man for the job.
You are just being self-righteous.
Nothing with hindsight.
This is not about Keir Starmer.
He's a nasty little piece of work. He is a wrong un. He's a proven liar. He was best mates with a paedophile. He thought that was okay. He didn't believe the girl who'd been solicited for prostitution. And you're happy to be mates with him. I don't think he's fit for public office.
Nor do I. So what we argue about.
I'll go for dinner with him.
All I'm saying is that Peter Mandelson had professionally something to offer, and nobody knew the extent of his betrayal of that political job, and you cannot blame the Prime Minister of that.
To be shocked that he lied? Oh no, a proven liar has lied to me. Wouldn't you carry out proper vetting?
We are both in the journalism business, and I think you should be very careful dismissing everybody as a proven liar.
I mean, he resigned twice for having lied.
No, he didn't. Actually,
he was found to have done nothing wrong.
The second time, he was actually exonerated in an official inquiry. Well, he was.
Yeah, well, he'll probably be exonerated in an official inquiry now.
Well, you would be lying if you said that he was convicted the second time, because he wasn't.
I didn't say he was convicted.
You said he was guilty and he was exonerated.
We know he's a liar.
He was exonerated.
We know he's a liar. He's lied about... He lies 4 times before breakfast.
This is an interesting point. I've been a journalist for 40 years, and as I have said on the record, in my political dealings about political business, what is going on, what is happening, Peter Mandelson happens to be one of the rare people, in fact the only one I can think of offhand, and it includes Prime Ministers, who has not, to my face, told me lies.
You just don't know whether he has or he hasn't.
No, I do, because I know what happened subsequently.
Did you? OK, you're such good mates with him. When he was appointed to the job as UK ambassador to Washington, did you say to him, You know, or have you? I think you've spoken to him since. Have you said to him? Did you tell everyone? He's admitted he didn't tell everything to the Prime Minister. Was he the right person for the job given his close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
Listen,
did he tell you how close he'd been to Jeffrey Epstein?
No, of course not.
So he did lie to you.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It turns out that he lied by omission. And
oh, God!
No, he did, because he did not.
My husband didn't come in the house, and he was. I didn't ask him if he'd had an affair that night, but he didn't tell me. So that was
Listen,
okay.
Peter Mandelson didn't tell anybody about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. I know lots of people who've been friendly with Peter Mandelson. None of us knew about what was going on with Jeffrey Epstein, let alone that it appears money changed hands. And certainly not that he was breaching government secrets. And no one could have known he managed to cover it up. Okay. So in that sense, by what he did and what he didn't, was not open about, he misled everybody. But that's very different from actually coming out and straightforward telling you black is white, which, for example, Alistair Campbell did on a regular basis. Yeah,
that's true. Does Keir Starmer survive this? Does Morgan McSweeney, his Chief of Staff, survive this?
I think it's more a question, frankly, it will be stuck on the government. There'll be people who will do it enthusiastically. And you know, someone said yesterday that Peter Mandelson has been in at the kill of 2 Labour election defeats 42 years apart. And it looks very, very unlikely that Labour, given what's going on, stands a chance of winning the next election.
Brilliant. It's been fantastic to have you in. My advice to you people, find someone who loves you and is as loyal to you as this man is to Peter Mandelson. He's going to shout at me as soon as the mic goes off.
I'm not being loyal.
We're going to have to
I've
go.
absolutely admitted that he's done all these wrong things.
Adam, I'm going to have to go to break. You know timings on the radio. 10:51 is the time. This is Talk.